Welcome to The Hustle with Ben Anderson, highlighting a series of inspirational success stories with celebrities, entrepreneurs, athletes, and industry-leading professionals. Ben has learned and mastered the art of the hustle, which has allowed him to become a top 20 USA loan originator and the #1 mortgage and real estate finance coach in America, who has closed more than $3 billion in real estate finance transactions. So sit back, listen, and learn with the Loan King about money and mortgage.
Welcome to The Hustle with your host, myself, Ben Anderson, coming to you live from Manhattan from the man himself, Sean McPeak, with Househead Realty. And we're talking about Manhattan real estate today.
Yes,
the
sir.
Sexiest real estate in the industry.
That's right.
So I'm so happy to be here. I love Manhattan, and I love Manhattan real estate. So today, this is an industry show. So if you're in the industry, pay attention because you're learning a lot about Manhattan, about Sean, his story, and why he's so unique. So let's back up a little bit and talk about why you're in this business. Talk about your why.
When I was growing up, I helped my mom flip a couple houses, and I kind of got introduced to suburban real estate at a young age. We moved quite a few times when I was growing up between New Jersey and Long Island, Staten Island, and Westchester. And it was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to get into industry in some form, and I thought I would be an investor eventually when I graduated in college. But life took a little turn, and we had a huge economic meltdown, the Great Recession as we call it now, and things changed. The job market changed for me when I graduated in 2009, and so I got into real estate a little faster than I anticipated. So
you've seen a lot of things in Manhattan. I mean, you've been here for how long?
I've been living in Manhattan for 10 years.
10 years. And before that, your family is from where?
I grew up in New Jersey. My mother's actually from Germany, and then my father's from Long Island. So a lot of family in the tri-state area. Going
back to the roots of the business and why you're in this industry, what about this city makes it exciting? I mean, tell me why. Is it the buildings? Is it the people? Is it the energy? Because it's I mean, you walk outside, all you see is construction to the roof. All you see is
a lot of cranes, yeah.
Cranes and planes and trains.
Yeah, I think you said it. Energy is, for me, every neighborhood has a different pulse. So financial districts, that's one of the financial hubs of the city. You have a different type of energy down there. There's a lot of tourism now, but you come to Midtown, and it really is a hustle and bustle. And there's something about having a bunch of motivated people surrounding you, and having serious conversations, walking fast, whatever it is, it all kind of contributes to this excitement that I don't really get anywhere else. And it's just a place where everyone kind of agrees that there's limitless possibilities, and that's something that's really inspiring to me.
And your numbers speak for themselves. You're number one at your brokerage, which is the third biggest real estate company in Manhattan. So that's, first of all, congratulations on your success.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a long way to get to where I am today with my team and being at Halstead. I spent my first 4 years in the business at Douglas Elliman, which is the largest brokerage and one of the largest in the country now. And then I spent 4 years at Compass, which is like a tech startup that's all over the country now. People are probably familiar with it. And then I transitioned to Halstead last year, actually, and we're sitting in one of my new developments here.
Beautiful building.
Yep.
Thanks for hosting us today too.
Yep, Morgan Lofts. I understand your wife's name's Morgan.
It's meant to be.
It's meant to be. Right next to Morgan Library.
Us meeting is meant to be, and I'm happy that we can start out by kind of recording our relationship, which is really cool. Let's talk about the meltdown in 2009.
Okay.
And where you were at that point in time in your life, and what you were doing then.
I was working in the software business. I was doing tech support between large businesses and our engineers, and that's like the definition of crossfire. If anyone's in tech out there, mostly the customers are actually nice, even though they're pretty upset what's going on. If you're talking to me, it's the engineers that give you the problems. So I was the punching bag for almost a year, and I was desperately searching for jobs on my lunch breaks every day. And I lost a very large software sales job, and then I started going on Craigslist, and I answered a real estate ad, and I went down to Wall Street. I crushed the interview. They loved me, and within a month, I was a top rental agent at the firm, and at 2009, no sales were really happening. There was barely any transactions in all the hot neighborhoods.
What was it like back then? Because it seems like it was lifetimes ago. What was real estate like in Manhattan in 2009?
Real estate was a scary business to be in. Established brokers were leaving the business. There was a lot of doom and gloom, but there was a new breed coming in, and that was the rental broker who was capitalizing on the commissions that landlords are paying to bring them tenants. So there were people that were making $250,000 to $300,000, straight out of college or straight out of another industry, just doing rentals. And rentals in Manhattan is a rat race, and you're taking out 2, 3, 4, 5 people a day. You're meeting them on Craigslist in the morning. You're showing them 10 apartments, and then you're hopefully signing leases within the next 48 hours. And that's kind of how I learned the business. And I just looked at it. I looked at the chaos, and I always say chaos breeds opportunity. And I just said, listen, I'm going to learn the rentals, and when the market comes back around, I'm going to be prepared for sales. And so I spent my first year and a half kind of doing that until I started getting into sales. And luckily for me, the market the tide started rising in the market here, and I joined some pretty heavy brokers and started learning the business and the sales side of it.
So it sounds like there's a ton of hustle back in the rental days, because
Yes.
you're showing 10 apartments a day.
I mean, minimum. I mean, you could be in 10 buildings and be showing multiple apartments in each building. So it's a lot of walking. I lost like 15 pounds. I played college lacrosse, so I was like pretty well built at that point, but I kind of lost it. And it was, sometimes you wouldn't, you'd have breakfast and you would forget to eat dinner, going to bed. You wouldn't eat all day. So that's how busy you would get. But it was a fun time. I made a lot of great friends. A lot of the people I started with on my original firm are still in the business, are doing really well these days. So it was an interesting thing. It's almost like a little fraternity connection you have with the people you started with.
So the market does turn. This is like a 2011, maybe 12-ish, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 2011, we started seeing some signs of life. Bankers are really who have historically driven the high-end market in Manhattan. And they started spending money again because bonuses started coming back. And
So you mean like as clients of yours?
as clients, yes. So the banks had already been trying to lend in the city, but it was really just the appetite of the buyer. And the Manhattan market is a lot of it is driven by perception. If people think it's going to be bad, they're not going to buy. So it doesn't matter if all the conditions are perfect and things are moving. If there's a bad news article or something, that can actually derail market activity in our market here.
Interesting. It's different because in Southern California, people don't really pay attention to the news that much. They just
Good for them.
do what their friends are doing.
Yeah, exactly. Here we have people there's a lot of buyers that can walk into a building and know more than most brokers. They do a lot of research. The buyer here is very intelligent. They're very well researched. They're very educated on the market. For us as brokers, we need to navigate kind of the ideological parts of the business. And that's usually what I have to explain to a lot of clients, who are, superstars in their industry. It could be finance, fashion, publicity, whatever it is. Say, listen, like the way our market works is not logical. It doesn't work on spreadsheets. It's not Amazon. You can't go on you can't go on the computer and buy an apartment. You really have to have all your tools in your hands and ready to go to work when you find an apartment you like, and that can take a while.
So talk about where you focus your sales in Manhattan. What areas you focus on? What kind of sales and why?
So right now I'm heavily focused on Midtown. We're doing a lot of Tribeca and Soho deals right now, and I live in Upper East Side, so naturally I just get a lot of deals up there. But right now we're really focused on new development and really focused on actually taking over new developments that haven't been selling and repositioning them and selling them to the market. So that's what I've done my whole career. I didn't have any connections when I came in, so I've actually been called by some older people the garbage man, because they're like, well, you're just picking up garbage and no one wants. And it's like, but I've made my reputation like that.
And that is what you're known for. You're known for taking troubled listings
Mm-hmm.
or unsellable properties,
Right.
quote, per the market,
Right.
and turning them over.
Yeah, and I love that. The more difficult, the more I get to prove myself. I really embrace that. There's a lot of people in the business that, they might have had it easier on the way they acquire business. So I really pride myself on the skills I've developed. My struggle has been my strength.
And if I'm trying to break into this market, teach me Manhattan. Teach me what you know about the different areas. I'm a buyer right now listening, and I'm flying in from London or Tokyo or California, and I want to buy an apartment.
Okay.
Tell me the lay of the land, because I want to know.
So it depends. It depends what your lifestyle is. It's really about lifestyle. Do you need access to a park? Are you a fitness enthusiast? Do you need quiet? Do you want to go out at night? Do you want to be within walking distance of your friends? Most people, especially internationals like London, for instance, you mentioned, would want to be in the West Village, Greenwich Village. They probably shy away from this part of town. If they were coming with kids or other family members, they may want something uptown with schools or near Central Park. So I would say they're either...
So Central Park is considered uptown?
Central Park for the main part of Manhattan, yeah, I guess for downtown, midtown people, we call it uptown, but uptown proper is really Harlem and North.
Okay, so uptown proper, Harlem and North. Mm-hmm. Uptown is more by the...
It's like Hudson Heights and just basically north of Harlem. I mean, I don't really do much up there. I've kind of just cut my teeth down in the main parts of Manhattan, so like Midtown, Tribeca.
Into Midtown,
Village.
Center Manhattan, where most of the finances take place in the high-rise buildings.
Yep. So Midtown Manhattan is home to basically every hedge fund in the city. All the banks are here. This is where things are happening really in the city now. It's not so much on Wall Street anymore. The real institutions are here. We just saw the construction of Hudson Yards on the west side, and that's millions of square feet of office space that's trying to lure tenants from this part of Manhattan just a few blocks west into the west side because they have state-of-the-art buildings and they're building amenities specifically for the worker over there.
And why is Manhattan such a hard market to break into, or New York in general? Because the state itself is different. Outside of New York City, it's easier to get licensed, it's easier to lend, it's easier to buy properties, but there's a lot of attorney laws and co-op laws that are a part of New York. It's kind of like a little bit of a club.
It's a little bit of a club, but you have to think of the variables, and the variables are the people, and you have 8 million of them, and the things that happen in these apartments and with these co-op boards, you can't even imagine sometimes, because you learn new things every time you go to submit an application. There's such a high volume of people that come in. You start seeing people that are scammers or that have shady backgrounds or something like that. And so they've built these rules and these policies to protect other people in the building from having bad neighbors, but also to protect them from defaults. So you come into Manhattan, you're paying minimum 20% down in any building. Some co-ops, some of them are totally non-financeable just because of their policies. They don't want anybody that can't afford total cash. They might require you to have triple the liquidity of the purchase price in reserve in order to get into the building. So there's craziness like that. So yeah, it is difficult to kind of get into the club.
Great. Now I feel well versed on Manhattan, so I got a great lesson. Now let's get to the fun stuff. Let's talk about how to be successful in real estate in Manhattan. Let's talk about your successful journey, structure, how to build the right kind of business here.
So I think one of the ingredients to success is to just be out every evening and get some business cards, meet some people, make sure you're following up with those people. I think that's it. But also you have to be well read. You should be reading the Wall Street Journal. You should be reading the Commercial Observer. You should be reading the Real Deal. I won't even say daily basis. I say multiple times a day, and really kind of keep your pulse on the local market and also macroeconomics, because that's going to be affecting the attitudes of your clientele. You really need to play armchair economist, but also local expert at the same time.
That was huge. Armchair economist, local expert. And I think it plays, you have to do it here.
You do, because the people, like you said, are coming from international, they're coming internationally, they're looking at the market as a whole. They're looking, there's 8 to 15,000 units on the market at any given time. Whether they're listed or not, they're there. and people want to see the 35,000 foot view of that, what's going on, and they also want to know what's on the horizon. Are interest rates going to rise? Is that going to put downward pressure on my appreciation of my unit? So you really have to kind of help people navigate, what they're going to be buying and what it's going to do in the immediate future in terms of value.
Okay, so first thing is be a really good study of the macroeconomic principles as well as local market features.
Mm-hmm.
Be a really good communicator and go out and meet people. If this is a town where everyone's out, then when you're out and about, you have to have the conversation. So what are some tips on meets and greets that you can give us?
I think you can meet a lot of people at community board meetings. Community boards in Manhattan, they control a lot of the liquor licensing for restaurants, for instance. They control the air rights for buildings, how what you can build, where you can build it, what you can knock down, like landmarks, stuff like that. So you can make immediate real estate connections doing stuff like that. It's a very charitable city, so you could go to a gala, charity event every night of the week if you wanted to, if you want to fill your schedule up. I think community-based stuff is good. And also just be yourself. I think one mistake I made early in my career was I wasn't really totally true to myself. I was really trying to run into groups of people that weren't really matches for me personally, my personality, and I think a lot of people have probably experienced that no matter where they live. But I think if you're into gym classes like fitness, if you're into Soul Cycle, do Soul Cycle triple the amount you would have been doing.
Right.
If you want to meet people and you want to make some contacts, if you're a Soul Sister, then you better ride more than like you're used to.
And you get in great shape too.
That's right, exactly. Ryan Serhant, he's probably the first or second biggest broker by volume in the city now. In his book, he's joining 3 gyms, and he's on the street before he gets on $1 Million Listing. This is how he's doing it. But if you're not a gym rat, just play to your strengths. Just if you're into basket weaving, join 2 basket weaving classes. Yeah,
and just have conversations.
Have conversations. I think the fastest way to get a client is to connect about something other than real estate. When I'm in an elevator with somebody or a group of people or another agent, I'm not talking about, maybe if they have questions, we're talking about real estate, but we'll talk about anything but the weather. I'll compliment them on their clothing. If their kids are wearing like a sports jersey, I'll ask them like about soccer or like mention something about the Women's World Cup. You should be really personable, and it shouldn't just be about business. People don't want to be friends with their real estate broker. They want to be friends with, Ben. They want to be friends with Sean. They want to know like the real you.
Right. That's important because I think so much is lost with how online media marketing is done that people think they can just sit behind a post.
Yeah, and I'm a huge proponent of posting, but you have to connect on the realist level. And especially with this type of real estate, it's so personal. The most brilliant financial minds in the world will get emotional and make silly decisions about their apartments or about their family's property. Things get weird, and that's our job, is to know them on some level that we can connect and say, but what about this? What about your house in the Hamptons? Don't you want to just relax there on 4th of July? Let's just sign the contract. So it's good to know somebody in order to get them to the right decision, and just know in your heart what's right for them, and when you have to push, because you know them and you know what it's going to be right for them.
So how do you know what kind of client's best for you, other than having common interests? Because there are certain clients that maybe are a good fit for Sean, and certain clients that aren't a good fit for Sean. You got to navigate through who you spend your time with and make sure that you're not wasting it.
Totally. I'll say something that's probably you're not expecting. When it comes to family and friends, like close friends, I usually have someone else on my team handle that. So let's say those should be slam dunk clients for most people. For me, it's always gotten kind of hairy, so I have someone that's going to be doing their financials, because
that's bold.
Yeah, I think it just makes it less awkward. People like it if they know I'm monitoring whoever is working with them, and they'll send me rave reviews about Chris on my team. He's handled a few of my friends, and there's been an issue with the job or this or that, and he's navigated, and he's the rock star, but he's also the potential villain too.
Right.
But it's just easier when it's not that personal. But for me, like the best clients, I love people who work in finance. I love doctors.
You know your DNA. I mean, that's who you want to work with, is that bank, doctor, high level client.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I like art collectors. I like health and wellness people. They also share common threads, but I don't look at just their industry. I just kind of look at their personality. And I've worked with highly analytical. I've worked with kind of people that are up in the clouds. And you're right though. You should find like your good client and kind of stick to them.
So you know your lane, you know your client. I want to talk about the team side of it, because
sure.
A lot of people in real estate, and I can speak for California and other states, maybe more than here, they, in the real estate community, they don't take the risk to go build a business. Mm-hmm. They just want to go get the one transaction and babysit it, and that's not really growing a business. But it seems like the best brokers in New York, ones that I've sat with or talked to before, all have more of a team approach of building a team. Maybe your own personal assistant, maybe you have your transaction coordinator, maybe you have your own team underneath you. So how is your team set up, and what's the best way to structure a successful organization?
So I've done a lot of trial and error on this, and when I was part of my former company, I actually went to a team building seminar in California, and it was very helpful. What I kind of build a team around first is you have to be getting along with that person. I think you have to speak the same language. So what I kind of, after having a lot of turnover with assistants and some team members over the years, I kind of came to the conclusion that I needed to be with someone who played some type of sport. So I needed somebody. I played Division I lacrosse, so I decided that, you know what, some people think I'm a very easygoing person, but when things get intense, it's like I'm in a game. And you know that when you're playing a sport and there's a lot on the line, like things get said that you would never say in your regular life, even if it was just a high pressure situation.
Are high.
Exactly, and it's kind of, real estate and sales are kind of an adrenaline sport, and so I decided I wanted to get people on my team that are coachable, that can play hard, work hard, just like anybody you play sports with in college is usually like, and then I also like having someone to counterbalance that. And my partner's name's Katie, and she's big in the art community. She's big in holistic healing and health wellness, and she's done trips to Thailand for months at a time, and she's met the Dalai Lama. Like she's the coolest. She did all the art in this apartment. Like she decorated this thing.
I love it.
So I like to have a yin and yang. That's how my team approaches. Having assistants always great. We find that I just took a sample size in my company, and people that onboard assistants and other agents are like, listen, I used to get beat myself up for having people leave because I want to have perfect retention, and that wasn't the case. I was having a year and a half, and people were like, don't kill yourself, because everyone, these people on your team sometimes only have a year and a half, 2 year lifespan anyways, because you either have someone with ambition that's doing a great job and is going to want to grow, or sometimes you have someone with not enough ambition that really isn't kind of feeling your vibe and the way you play the game, because everyone plays it differently. It's like real estate's like it's like your fingerprint. Everyone does it differently.
And I heard hopefully I'll say it right, but we had a quote today which is about teamwork, and it was about let's see if I say it right. Find out if the person makes your wagon harder to pull because they add a weight to your wagon, or if they're the person that when it gets heavy, they help you pull it.
Right.
And so who is the person on your team? Are they the person that's going to weigh your team down and cause the dramatic person that's always going to cause you all your time, and they bring in all the deals that don't close, or is the person that you can pull away with and they can help you pull this tough stuff along with you?
I like that analogy. I could think of all different types of wagon people. I've had a couple guys that have fallen off the wagon. I've definitely had some people that have put major drag on the wagon. I've had extreme regrets about scaring off some people that were, put an engine in the wagon.
Yep.
So I've kind of, it's trial and error. It's you got to learn from your mistakes. I've made a few. I'm really happy with the structure of my team. There's 5 of us right now. We have 2 people that are effectively business development referral type people, and then 3 of us who do a lot of the work. We're looking to hire about 3 more right now. The team you have should reflect the type of work you're going to be doing. So if you're going to be doing rentals in Manhattan, you should have a very young team. You should have people that are, a few years out of college most.
That's great advice, actually.
So, but if you're going to be doing what we're doing now, working on new developments and specifically struggling new developments, you need to have very, very hardworking people that also have a ton of experience.
Right.
And that's kind of how we're building our team right now. Is like, well, we're not taking really anyone with less than a few years of experience at this point, just because of the nature of our listings and our buyers.
So let's talk about some hot buttons in the industry. Let's talk about technology in real estate.
Right.
And it's changing the game.
It is.
More access to information than ever before.
Yeah.
Whether you have Zillow or Realtor.com or Trulia and Redfin. So do you see the market here being affected by some of these fintech, Google type, Amazon type services coming in? Because Manhattan real estate is more cookie cutter because it's a building.
Right.
And it's not maybe an ocean view property like maybe the Hamptons where it's more custom.
Right.
Because you have apartments which are what they are.
Right.
Do you see technology and the online listing services being a factor here?
I mean, I think it's led a lot of clients to oversimplify what an apartment is. But I'll counter that with another question. How do you make an apartment that's the exact same layout of an apartment above it sell for more money or sell faster? Like, how do you get the edge? And that's where we kind of try to interject value in that specific scenario. So some buildings are totally cookie cutter, and you have to differentiate yourself by getting the job done faster or better than the other person. Another way that the technology, the fintech and the real estate tech, the Zillows and the Compasses of the world, I just look at all of them and I can't tell you which one's making money, because I think the business has been eroded in a lot of ways, where these services aren't totally transparent, and they're not really providing the type of value they're proclaiming, and I see them also missing huge opportunities. Like, I see Zillow selling a lead for, let's say, $100, and it could be a $30,000 commission, and Zillow's losing money every year and every quarter. So, why are they doing that? Why isn't somebody at Zillow taking advantage of the bigger piece of the pie instead of just saying, screw real estate brokers, blah blah blah? Why don't you help bolster the real estate brokers offerings,
right,
and take a little bigger piece of the pie and really focus on value? There's a lot of deception in these technologies right now. There's not a lot of cohesiveness between a lot of them. I think for brokers, CRM is the biggest thing that brokers need. I think 75% of brokers would tell you they need a CRM that integrates with all the technology they use. And there is one out there, but it's not in New York City yet.
Right. Interesting. What about forwarding the conversation down to where technology might be going, which is even more automation, like VR. Does VR play a big role in allowing customers to see properties without having to go see properties?
That's a good question. I don't think people are quite ready to start buying sight unseen en masse, but I do see VR being applied in other ways. Like when you walk into a room, there's augmented VR, and I can have all my furniture at my house I can have in my goggles, and I can start placing it here in the dimensions of the room in real time. I think those type of technologies are going to kind of come to the forefront first, rather than people just going to the real estate agent's office and buying something sight unseen, or using an Oculus from home. I think people really need to touch, feel, smell. I'd say about 90% of people really need to get their hands on it. Just even sitting here, we can hear a car or something like that, or you're in a building in Manhattan, you can hear an elevator that's right next to your apartment. It's good to go in and check it out and do your own due diligence before you're kind of jumping on it. So the VR thing, I don't think it's going to replace a real estate agent, but it will play a factor. And like a lot of these technologies, it's probably going to play out in an unforeseen way.
And what advice would you give to, let me flip the script, the lending experts who are looking to partner with a top broker like yourselves, because a lot of loan officers will be listening to what you have to say because they'll want to kind of get inside the mind of a top broker, especially in Manhattan.
I think things get hairy when your agent is having difficulty with their client. I think the phone is the most underutilized tool these days. People are posting and texting and emailing. I think having a calming voice, and I think you have a calming voice, so I think that's probably a huge secret to your success that people may not realize. But my best loan officers are the ones educating the client. When they have millions of questions after they get off the phone with a mortgage officer, I don't really want to be answering those questions, even though I can, but it can make my life very stressful, especially at 8:30 at night or something like that. So I think the phone and really being able to speak to people kind of trumps any technology for a mortgage officer. And then I think streamlining some of the other marketing stuff, if you're going to be doing like show sheets for the house, brochures, or you need rates or something, I think just having that stuff on the spot rather than sending out like a mass email every day or something like that, that might be somewhere where you could provide value to your brokers. And also just showing face every once in a while, like if you're doing like a caravan broker open or something like that, that can be really helpful too, just to have someone that has your back. I know it's been very helpful for me.
So what I'm hearing you saying is an LO that controls the client for you, so you can go sell more real estate and make sure client's happy, and then gives you the little things that you need to make better presentations or just have better data about the market.
Yeah, I think if a loan officer wants to do more business with me, I need to kind of meld our marketing. I need to combine some of the stuff we're doing. If I'm going to give someone a sheet on this apartment, and there's plenty of room for something like this, a 1-bedroom, for a section with the rates, the down payment breakdown, the monthly breakdown. Like here we have common charges and taxes, and then the mortgage payment. Sometimes just having a 3-inch by 4-inch box with that stuff in your face and your info, I think that can make a huge difference. And the technology exists where we can make these things happen within a minute. Yeah, it's a minute. It could be automatic. So I think really kind of getting involved in that part of your agent's life and just making their life easier, smoother, but always kind of be hovering from afar with like a little bit of technology and just a couple calls to their clients and just make their client. We have a philosophy on our team is that we treat other brokers like they're our clients. So what I mean by that is when a broker comes into my listing and maybe they're really inexperienced, and it happens a lot, we want to educate them and coach them up and make them look like a rock star to their client. Be like, hey, by the way, like so and so, like this. There's a lawsuit, your lawyer's going to find this, but I'm just giving you the advanced research and the heads up, and we can smooth out, bad news pretty quick. So I always say no news is worse than bad news. Just give me the bad news as fast as possible, give people the information as fast as possible, get people the info, make them look like rock stars to their clients, and you will get deals done faster and for more money.
Add more value.
Add more value, but don't kill yourself on time. Be efficient.
I love it. Add more value, good on time, and treat your whole team treat everyone in the transaction like they're on the same team.
Yeah, like one of the most frustrating aspects of being a broker in New York is like there's a very adversarial type of vibe between a lot of us, and I hug them. I bring them in. Like, come in here. Especially like you're at a party. This happens all the time here in the Hamptons, and then with a bunch of people, and they might be really well off, and someone's like, oh, I'm a broker, and you're like, oh, I'm a broker too, and it's kind of like this. Yes. But I'm like, no, give me your card. I'm putting you in my mailing list. When I have like 15 units like I do now, like I'm going to be talking to you because I might have bought you a drink or whatever. I always try to be cool with the brokers because they're who I'm doing 90% of my transactions with.
That's right.
It's not just, of course you have to keep your clients are number one, but you really should be soliciting the brokers, especially when the market gets slow. You really need that.
What a great takeaway. Well, thanks for being on here and giving me insight into your business and just opening up without asking for anything in return. It's been really generous of you, giving us the time to spend in your listing and making me want to be here more than anything else in the world.
Hey, we have 15 of them open. We can start you off on a small one. 11 East 36th Street.
I think this could Airbnb okay here.
Very illegal at this point. You need to own a building and have less than 3 units in order to do it legally. They just had a big crackdown. I had a friend that lost a bunch of them this week.
That's why I need an expert.
I read it in my newsletter too. I always say, I'll give you a little Airbnb update.
I love the studying you're doing. I love the message you're doing. I love the business you're doing, and I love the person that you are. So thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for coming.
You obviously have the hustle, and a good luck selling out this building.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks.
To follow our story, check us out at benanderson.365 on Instagram and stay tuned for our next honored guest.